stranger, your brother's a foe. While the kings of the circus count the notes as they go, selling the conflict right down the line, pocketing truth for a cheaper lie. So we cut the wires to the microphone. This house of cards is coming down.
Here we are, everybody. Hi, we're back. This is Jason from State of the Nation. And with me is the lovely Rosie Convoy. How are you, Rosie?
I'm doing well, Jason. It's good to see you again, finally. It's been a while.
It's been a hell of a long time. Oh, my God. It's been well over a year since we've done a podcast. Well over a year. And our new podcast is called Smash the Ring. And that song is copyrighted to nobody because, although probably some AIs did rip off some IP while training, and it was made by Suno AI. Although I do find that there's some distortion in that. But we're going to get straight into it, where we are possibly expecting one more guest later on, but we'll find out when that guest turns up. So here we are. We are going to get straight into the podcast. So the topic of today is obviously the question: are we about to embark on a global war? That is the big question here. So let's just remove this one right here. We're going to remove that from the studio, and we're going to put that up on our stage there. And my hair is a bit funny because I just had to take off my headphones. I'm going to put them back on.
Can you still hear me?
Indeed, I can. Indeed, I can. No problem. We are 10 minutes late because we, of course, we haven't done this for about a year, so or a bit more than that, maybe. So we're just getting straight into it. So this is the big news of the hour, of the week, of the month of 2026. We are launching into this new year with a firestorm, really, to be quite honest. It is quite a firestorm. I'm going to mute that and let that play in the background. Here you can see the location in question, the Middle East. And it is a very weird set of, it's a very weird situation, don't you think? Because it started off with, I guess, taking out one particular guy. And Iran's response was to attack everybody in your neighborhood.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I'm still kind of getting caught up. I'm still kind of in shock with how quickly all this kind of has just started happening. So yeah, just there's so much going on right now, and all of a sudden this pops up in your news feed, and yeah, I get still a little bit in shock. I watched a lot of the, I guess it was like a month ago, a lot of the Iranian protesters when they were able to sneak out some of their personal footage of people protesting, and they, and then I heard there was an internet blackout, and then this pops up, and so I'm still soaking it in.
Well, I have the Facebook group Global Checkpoint News. Stop WW3. Let me transfer that over there. I'm just going to pause that for a minute, and we'll just open that page there. Share this tab instead. There we are. And this is where I'm compiling all the news. See, I kind of caught wind that something was going on, and so I decided that I would repurpose one of our old groups. You're also an admin in that group as well.
Okay.
And this is called Global Checkpoint News that stopped World War III. So I kind of got this feeling not so long ago. I'm feeling a bit savant about this, really. And I decided to repurpose one of our groups that was a bit stagnant and not really doing much. And here I'm compiling a whole bunch of stuff. Not necessarily about Iran, but just the growing tension around the world, which had started to really concern me. I kind of stopped listening to sort of local petty politics, and I started paying more attention to the bigger picture of it started with Russia and Ukraine, and it didn't end there, and it started slowly creeping and getting a bit more widespread and a bit more widespread, and here we go. Now we have the entire Middle East caught up in what is now considered to be a regional war, and now you've got half of Europe now jumping in because they have their bases in these areas. And that's the reason why Iran targeted the other countries, the neighboring countries, because they were housing military bases in their countries, and so they went and attacked those bases. And the thing is, they're not very very accurate, and they also started hitting hotels. I've got a friend of mine who's actually in Dubai, and 2 days ago they were told to stay home, work remotely for 3 days, and there's just been a whole wave of stuff going on. So for people who want to stay up to date with it, I have to go through all of these videos, so I do that so you don't have to. There's a ton of it. Pretty much got the information, which is kind of balanced, because the thing is, you got to be kind of careful, because you can always lean one way, right?
Yeah.
For example, you've got a situation now where you've got the MAGA crowd who are sort of upset because the US is supporting Israel, and you've got the anti-Zionists and all that, and then you've got the situation where you don't really know what's going on. It's really weird. It's flipped on its head. It's like, now we're supporting this guy. I thought he was like the sworn enemy,
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of really bizarre. It's a very bizarre situation that now loyalties are being flipped over, and it's just like, it's a free for all. There were people going on about being anti-Zionist, and now I've got information on this from actual Zionists, and then suddenly there's a human face to Zionism, and they're like a regular young person, and it's just, what? So I think this whole thing is designed to confuse the heck out of people, to be honest.
Well, I think it's working, because I know I'm confused.
What's the response from the New Zealand government there, the Canadian government?
Well, I think the whole idea here in Canada is just, honestly, ever since Carney came in and with his elbows up crowd, it just feels like a lot more division. Very much the mentality, orange man is bad. No matter what he does, he could save a baby from a burning building and they would find some way to hate him for it. It kind of feels that way. It's embarrassing something right now to be Canadian, because honestly, we Canadians tend to boo the American anthem at hockey games now. And basically for a year now, since Carney took over for Trudeau, it's just a lot of anti-American sentiment. And then you see how Carney is cuddling up to the Chinese party and the Chinese government, and it's just so strange, because like my whole life we've been like the Americas, they're like the USA, they're our neighbors, they're our cousins from other mothers, or so just to see how much, it's like it was always bubbling up inside, because I know we always made fun of Americans, the cliche, they're bullies, blah, blah, blah. And it just feels like it's been festering for so long, and now it's being released or unleashed. And then, I saw this video too. It kind of has to do with like the elbows up crowd and the, orange man bad, but like what happened in Puerto Vallarta, and then to see the videos coming out of Canadians stealing, like robbing grocery stores, which is just something that I never thought I'd ever see. Just that kind of, selfish mentality, like nobody else matters, and I'm out for myself. Canadians, I always thought we looked out for each other, and now it just feels like everybody. And then, of course, because I'm in Alberta, Alberta wanting to separate, and then the signatures are collecting to call in a referendum. I see a lot of Alberta flags flying, and a lot of them are. There's a whole, like, you can be. It's like Alberta is not even part of Canada in a lot of ways, emotionally and mentally. So if you're a separatist in Alberta, then people are calling you a treasonous racist, and it's just no.
You're in
It's
Alberta
next
though,
level.
aren't you?
Sorry,
You're in Alberta. You're in
I am.
Alberta, aren't you?
I
Right.
am in Alberta.
And,
Yeah,
and this is the state that is talking about separating,
the
seceding from
province.
Canada.
Yeah, the province.
province.
Alberta is talking about separating because, basically the entire country is being funded by, not entirely by Alberta, but Alberta definitely brings in the majority of the money, and it goes to Ottawa, and then Ottawa redistributes it, and Quebec gets the lion's share. So anyway, there's a lot of animosity. It's been building up for a long time because Alberta, of course, is known for its oil, and being right next door to British Columbia. British Columbia has the Pacific Ocean on the other side of it. So for decades, there's been talk like, can we build a pipeline? Can we just take this oil from Alberta, run it through British Columbia? But British Columbia is incredibly liberal and very environmentally conscious. So way back in the day when I didn't know any better, I'd be out there protesting pipelines too. But now I'm not of that opinion. Now I'd just like to see Alberta do a lot better and be given the proper respect that it deserves. And so I'm not a separatist myself. I'd like to see Canada, just come up with something better than just kicking us in the nuts every single time, every chance that they get. So yeah, it's next level division here. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. You just, like, your head is always on a swivel because you think you know somebody, and then they'll get angry at you if you say you want Alberta to separate, and it's next level. Families are being torn apart, even though they're all conservative. If you don't love Canada and you're kind of frustrated with the way things have been, basically since the Liberals got in over 10 years ago, it's just the frustration it's all coming to a head. So
Yeah, you gotta love Canada. That's right. Well, you gotta love your own country at the end of the day. But it is. I keep going back, and I'm not getting, like, personally deeply involved. I'm sort of stepping back and looking at the bigger picture. But I do see that New Zealand and Canada in particular have been targeted. And I don't know if it's because, like, in New Zealand we have this tall poppies thing. It's called a tall poppy attitude, where you kind of feel like that you're kind of better than everybody else. And so it's easy for people to sort of get into an argument and to disagree. And so there's a lot of dissenting voices. And that's also a good thing. But the problem is that some of it's it can get very petty. And I've always said that you also need to fund a good, strong media arm as well, with common sense voices and so on. And they attempt to do that in New Zealand, but it's always been very difficult in New Zealand because it's a very small country, only 5.5 million. The economy is not that huge. There's not the opportunity that they have, like, say, for example, in the US, where they have well over 360 million. Probably after all of these migrants come in, there's probably 400 million there now. So it's very difficult to fund something like that. So you get a lot of back chatting, and all that sort of carry on happening, and it's very difficult to get people to sort of get along. But I also see that the state itself plays a big part in the undermining. They continue to push these archaic points of views, like the message, and it's almost as if they are deliberately trying to get people to trip up and basically attack each other with their petty squabbles and so on and so on. And that basically, I think it's calculated in that direction to keep them divided because really it's only New Zealand and it's only Canada at this point, from what I can see, out of the colonies anyway. I mean, Europe is a whole nother story because they've got a lot of migrants and all that kind of stuff. And this thing, back to the war, right? This is going to accumulate all of what's been happening now. There's a lot of ships around England and around France and Germany. There's a lot of ships, a lot of military ships. There's a big buildup out there. And there's also a lot of, because of the open border policies, there's also a lot of immigrants that have been flooding into these European countries. And they're already at that point where the Europeans and the Americans are starting to be more assertive now and getting it under control and corralling these up. In England, it's the People's Justice. They're going out. They're physically, because the government won't do it. They're physically going out. They're corralling these people, basically hassling them, that sort of thing. But with all these influx of migrants and these cultural tensions flying up between Christianity and the Muslim world, this, I think, is going to really, really explode into something which is very akin to a civil war type scenario, although it's more the civilians are responding to an actual invasion, and the fact that people kind of get into the hype, they're all excited once they see one group fighting, they start fighting, and now you're going to see all of the Middle East fighting. So that means everyone's going to ride that hype, and they're all going to start fighting. They've all got something to achieve, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah.
They all want to. Yeah, they're all going to. It's been bubbling up, and now you've got these Iranian people walking around, if they're Iranian or they're separatists or they're activists or they're part of the brainwash of walking around with knives and guns, and it's getting bigger, right? It's intensifying.
Yeah, I definitely can feel it too. It absolutely feels that way. I watched a little bit that new party in England, the Restore Britain. That was interesting. How it's coming to a head. I honestly think that the reason why Canada and New Zealand in particular have been targeted is because, well, New Zealand kind of lives in the shadow of Australia. So if anything big happens in Australia, it overshadows anything that's happening in New Zealand. And same with Canada. The US just is more in the news. It's more entertaining. It's more, like a car wreck where you just can't look away. You're just watching everything that's happening in the US. So all these things happening in Canada is just they happen behind closed doors. Things are very kind of hush hush, and we find out afterwards kind of what the government is up to, and so it's. I think it's because it's just nothing happening in Canada is as entertaining as whatever happens in the United States. So all the big wigs that think they can get away with it feel that they kind of are, because, well, of course, here in Canada we've got this crazy censorship where you can't even share the news on any Meta platform. So you have to find different ways to find it somewhere you can get all your information from what's going on in the world. Just crazy.
This is it, and it's really you would have already had your 4-year anniversary, but yesterday was the 4-year anniversary of the New Zealand convoy. Yours is probably a month earlier than ours. So, and it's really amazing and disappointing at the same time to think, wow, they had so much power back then, and they were really starting to move things along. They were really making grounds, and then then the infiltrators snuck in and started dividing them, and people were so susceptible to that, and so it's now just fallen flat. Like, I was watching a post by called Luke Takuhinua, Luke, and he was saying that he went there for his own commemoration, and only 3 people were there, on the day of the 4-day anniversary. And I thought, well, that's kind of, I've been seeing it slowly slip away, and I think it's the case I've observed. It's the same case by talking to you. It's the same case in Canada that is really just slipping away. So, but maybe you need liberation as well. Maybe you need a bit of Orange Man Band liberation.
Oh man,
Cuba's asking for it. There's a lot of people asking for it, right?
absolutely. Yeah, no, it's
Mm.
I saw this funny thing. It showed like Trump's bingo card, and it showed like Maduro being captured, and it was like, and then the next bingo square, it showed a picture of Mark Carney, as in he's next, and it's funny. I mean, it is funny. It's wishful thinking, I suppose, but yeah, I don't know. It feels like the closer that Carney cozies up to China, the more likely it'll be that the U.S. is going to have to step in, because the amount of communism that we're seeing here is just, it's mind blowing. Really, it's like
It is it has become completely normalized. I remember in the 50s in Hollywood, I think I don't know if it was the CIA or the FBI. They would be cruising around the studios looking for communists and interrogating them, and they were really paranoid about this. Now it's completely open.
yeah,
But then I have to say something about this as well. Something that I've observed over the years when it comes to empire building. And a lot of these things, they're sort of imperial systems, sorry. They're imperial systems which are rebranded technically, right? So they're basically kingdoms which are rebranded,
mhm,
and this is all this is at the end of the day. They're kingdoms, right? That's why in the Middle East all of this really exists, and you've got the kingdom of Thailand, right? And so I've always said every war is a banker's war, and communism is bankerism at the end of the day, because that's who funds all of this stuff at the end of the day, to control the resources, right?
mm,
So and of course this was actually, communism was created by the elite class, in Europe all those many years ago. So it was a fundamental rule. Was Karl Marx had intentions of actually helping the people, but he found that the people weren't really interested in being represented. But the sort of younger generation, wealthy people, found it to be quite useful, right?
yeah,
Also, the intellectuals found it to be quite useful. And although they were completely disconnected from the concept of how it actually worked, um, they were the main financiers of this sort of new current thought. Just like you see the message today, right? The wokeness today. It's sort
yeah,
of, you go to the universities, it's always at this level. It's always the intellectuals that sort of get behind this, and
yeah.
inclusivity and diversity and all this kind of stuff. Even though it's completely impractical and doesn't work in reality, right?
Yeah,
Yes, I
they
go
always
ahead,
tend
go ahead.
they always tend to say that, well, it's just it hasn't been done properly. It hasn't worked because it hasn't been done properly. So that goes for socialism too. But no, it's
Mm.
just everybody. Do they still read George Orwell's Animal Farm in school? I wonder.
Well, we used to watch it. We did watch it.
Hmm.
We did watch it indeed. It was a part of our required reading back in school. Um,
Yep.
okay, I'm going to sort of segue into this speech here by the previous interim prime minister, when they call him the prime minister, after Jacinda Ardern quit, gave up after the convoy, from the pressure. Mr. Hipkins was brought in to replace them. But this is the kind of problem that we have now. Listen to the rhetoric in his comments. So let me see if I can play that without messing it up.
Many of you will be watching what's happening in Iran and the wider Middle East with increasing anxiety. Our thoughts are with the people of Iran, with families across the region, and with New Zealanders worried about loved ones. It's entirely possible to condemn the repression of the Iranian regime and still be clear that the military escalation is not the answer.
One of the things I like to do when politicians make statements or little speeches is I really love to go through the comment section and see the burn, you know?
Hmm.
Really, there's a lot more burn than nice comments most of the time. So
Yeah.
condone an oppressive regime, but do not act militarily with military or militarily, right? So condone it or condemn it, and then but do not act. And this is the kind of weakness, right? This is the kind of weakness, and this is. I'm in Vietnam anyway, but that's what happened in Vietnam, right? That's what
Have
happened in Vietnam.
Have you seen those clips emerging from when they interviewed Kamala Harris and asked her, you know, if she was president, what would she tell Iran if they started a war? Have you seen that?
Is she standing on a beach?
No, she's actually being interviewed, like in a room by
No, I haven't seen that
proper
one.
journalists, but they're like, well, what would you do if Iran started a war? And she says, I would tell them, don't. Ooh,
Kamala,
I'm convinced.
Kamala word salad.
Oh, you're so strong. Ooh, the
Kamala
big
word
word
salad.
don't. Well, that's it. You know, I was thinking about starting a war, but since you said the word don't, I'm convinced. You know, I'm going to hang up my sword. I'm going to pick up George Orwell's Animal Farm. I'm going to read it. I'm going to read it to my grandkids. You know what? This war thing, I'm never going to start one because Kamala Harris said don't. It's pathetic. It's sad. And I can see Carney saying the same thing.
They're doing a quirky live remake of Animal Farm.
I heard.
Yeah.
But it actually praises communism, and it Andy Serkis actually is directing it. It praises communism and it bashes capitalism. So none of it's you know, they're using the original source at all. It's I've seen previews for it. I heard Andy Serkis was going to be directing it. I got all excited. I watched the preview and I said, "What the hell is this crap?" So I doubt I'll watch it. I like the book too much, you know, and the movie was great. I think you can find it on YouTube for free. The original cartoon.
I've seen the original movie. It's very dark and very daunting. And this is the sort of thing. Well, let's finish this up, and then I'm going to move over to Canada.
Both of those things are true. In recent months, tens of thousands of Iranians have shown extraordinary courage, taking to the streets, demanding change at enormous personal risk. They were fighting for their rights and their right to shape their own future. The struggle of the Iranian people cannot be used to explain military action that risks destabilizing the entire region. And
it was already unstable. It was unstable because of the regime.
They'd killed well over 30,000 people during the protests. I mean, this guy wouldn't last 5 minutes outside the country.
No, he wouldn't.
You know, they've grown up in comfort, trained and led into this comfortable position in the government through whatever resources got him there. He's felt nothing but comfort. He's got no idea about the actual world itself.
None of them really do.
They have no idea. They're all friends of friends, or family friends of friends, and all that, and just herded into their positions because of their connections. And yeah, let's carry on.
Potentially beyond International law matters. No country should place itself above the law. The danger is that each time we explain away an escalation like this, we step closer to an era of impunity, where the big powers act however they wish. As Prime Minister, I'll never leave New Zealanders in.
There you go. That's it. For the vote. Getting the vote, huh? That's what it's all about. Vote me in. We won't be joining. That's all that was for. That's all that was for. I've heard enough now. I'm going to go back to looking at.
I wonder if he buys his socks at the same store that Trudeau buys his fancy socks. I wonder if they wear the same kind of fancy socks.
Who's the leader? Who's the leader now? There, I don't even know who's the leader.
Mark Carney.
Mark Carney. Let's find Mark Carney's account.
Yeah, Carney. Very appropriate since it's a clown show here.
And what's the difference between Mark Carney and Trudeau?
Carney's a lot smoother. He gets away with it. He's not in the spotlight. Trudeau always he's a narcissist. He always liked being in the spotlight and upsetting people by doing stupid things. But Carney does it all. But honestly, Carney he's hardly ever in Canada. He's always abroad. He's always traveling somewhere because he's not here for Canadians. We just sent another. I don't even know the number. A couple million. Possibly billion, don't quote me on that, but we just sent another buttload of taxpayers' money to Ukraine. Isn't that great? We've got like homeless cities in every single town, and yeah, we just but that war in Ukraine, or the alleged money laundering. Anyway, it's frustrating. We're just 40% of our income tax goes to government, and that's before we even spend money on very, very taxed. Oh, and now because of the Orange Man bad, there's a lot of American products that you can't even get in Canada anymore. They just won't bring them in. They won't bring in these American products, because we got the elbows up crowd who are just boycotting it, and it's so frustrating, Jason, on a whole other level for me personally, being part of the freedom movement. The Canadian flag was something that we flew proudly. Now you don't know which crowd is flying the Canadian flag. I mean, I can kind of tell because it still has the folds in it. Then, it's like it's an elbows up, Canada person, but everybody's kind of just waiting. I want to wait and see what's going to happen here. Honestly, it's time for something to change, and it had to be big. I don't care what Hipkins says.
Charged by Google, whatever it is. Okay, so I'm here. Here, I'll share this tab instead. I'm here. I don't see any video of him making a response, but we do have a statement. We do have a statement.
Of course we do.
We do have a statement. Okay. The Canadian government is closely following Iran-related hostilities throughout the Middle East and urges all Canadians in Iran to shelter in place. Yeah, it's not going to be very helpful when Iran's lobbing bombs all over the place. Canadians in the wider region should follow local advice and take all necessary precautions. Canada's position remains clear. The Islamic Republic of Iran is the principal source of instability and terror throughout the Middle East. Wow. Okay, so they've taken a really reasonable stance on that. Has one of the world's worst human rights records and must never allow to obtain or develop nuclear weapons. Okay. Okay, so a slightly stronger approach to the New Zealand approach. Okay, so something's a bit positive there. But we'll go into that in a minute. Canada and our international partners have consistently called upon the Iranian regime to end its nuclear program, including the 2025 G7 Leaders Summit in Kananaskis. Where is that?
It's in Ontario, I believe.
Okay, so that's in Canada.
Is
Okay.
it in Ontario?
Kananaskis is actually about a half an hour away from here.
Oh, I'm told. Oh, there might be more than one Kananaskis. I'm told there's one in Alberta, not about a half an hour from where I live.
Okay.
Hey, I haven't lived here
And
that long. I don't know the area yet.
and the United Nations reimposition of sanctions in September. Despite diplomatic efforts, Iran has never fully dismantled its nuclear program, halted all enrichment activities, nor ended its support for regional terrorist proxy groups. Okay, so here's the argument. Here's the typical argument. You've got the left and the right. You've got the MAGA. You've got you say elbows up, whatever. You've got all the different groups, and they're all going in there. So the basic argument is it's a sovereign country. It can do whatever it likes. The foreign power should not be imposing or invading their country. Okay, so that's one argument. Okay, so these are the raging lefties, the woke, or all that sort of thing, right? So that's that's their opinion. So then you've got the people of the country and the people who are supporting those people who are not Muslim see the government as an actual invader itself, because that's exactly what it did in 1979.
Yep.
It invaded the country and threw out the Shah. Okay, which actually, if you're a conspiracy theorist, you already know that this was actually a part of the CIA operation way back then. This is actually one of those operations to roll over and to install these powers. So we have this history going back, but I'm not going to talk about that for another video. Okay, so we have those two conflicting arguments. Okay, but then you get the situation today that we're in at the moment, where what would have happened if they actually had got their nuclear weapon, right? What have they just done? Their response to a warning, they're going to be warned. They were warned about what the Americans were going to do, and the Americans did it. So their response is to attack everybody in the neighborhood, right?
Yep.
To blackmail them and to pressure them into not supporting the US. Now imagine if they had have got their nuclear weapons and they were dropping dirty nukes, or just call not nuclear, dirty nukes, yeah, a form of nuclear bomb, which has actually been used in the Middle East and Russia during these wars. Every now and then a dirty nuke pops up, and it's a very small caliber, but it's still a nuclear weapon, right?
Mhm.
So just imagine what the chaos. So, and then you on the woke side of it, where are all these feminists?
Right?
Right? Where are all the Me Too women? Where are My Body, My Choice women on this?
They're busy wearing their kafirs. They've got their, and protesting, no kings protests. And what is the flavor of the month? There's always something. Oh yeah, ice. Protesting ice. Even in Canada, they're protesting ice.
And they're just doing their job. I mean, if you go to a country legally and you apply through the system and you qualify, then good on you. You've done the right thing. Back when these countries were being colonized, they didn't really have a very strict immigration, but they still had some form of control, right? Like when you talk about, let's go back to New York, when they started colonizing New York with the Irish, and the Europeans. They had Ellis Island, I believe it was Ellis Island, where the ships would drop them off to Ellis Island and they were processed there. Right? So they were actually processed into the country, so they had a record of them. But these people were like literally just jumping the border and then getting right. And then you've got sanctuary cities, you've got the Minnesota Somali pirates.
Oh, right.
Right, the daycare center fraud scam. And these are all Democrats. Without a doubt, these are all blue states, sanctuary states, all Democrats. So the corruption, I mean, I'm not going to pinpoint a religion. I'm not going to pinpoint a party, but I'm just going to say that they have been taking advantage of of these social causes, social justice. They create the social justice movement in order to benefit from it via fraud,
Right.
right? Which really is disappointing because it makes it really difficult for genuine causes
Right.
to actually do something.
Yeah, it's all very frustrating. So I always think it's funny when you see people yelling that immigrants built this country, and then you hear the counter, which is no, settlers did. And it's true. Like, if you think about it, when the settlers came here, they were given raw land, terrain. They had to dig out the rocks so that they could plant crops. You know, they had to fell trees. They had to build their homes. They had to everything. They had to, and then in Canadian winters, I can't even imagine. You know, living in a little hut with the way the wind blows here in Alberta is just, it's so cold. I can't even imagine. So that's who built these countries. You know, that's who built the West. And then the immigrants came when there was already something here. So there's a difference, and I think it's really, really good to point that out.
My very first internet friend that I ever made in 2003 on Yahoo groups. Remember those Yahoo?
I remember Yahoo.
Right? Was an Inuit Aborigine. They call themselves Aboriginals. That was my very first internet friend, and used to describe to me that their life back there. That was living way out there. Inuits, I don't know where, but somewhere snowy.
Yes.
Somewhere really snowy. You know, and it takes a lot of ingenuity to actually survive out there, and really a lot of courage. I don't know if they
Absolutely.
can, you know, and okay, we'll go back. We have to kind of head back to this question of, are we going into a nuclear war? Final question: is it going to take us into a nuclear war? I'm thinking no. Dirty nukes, maybe, but I'm thinking global nuclear war. I don't know. But here's one thing that's on my mind. Could something go wrong? Right now, it's a stroke of luck for Trump and Israel, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a stroke of luck that Iran reacted in this way, that they started attacking all of its neighbors. And I think, you know, they got the bonus. It's like suddenly everybody's on their side, because originally people weren't really going to assist in this, right? Even surrounding neighboring countries weren't going to assist in this because they didn't want anything to do with it. But now, with Iran's reaction and Ayatollah being evaporated, and there's no leadership, they're just going on default settings, right? Nobody really knows how to make any decisions, and they know that it's backfiring, but nobody really has the fortitude to actually go ahead and change something about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And turn it around. So what happens though when something goes wrong, and then suddenly, instead of everybody focusing on Iran, they all turn around and focus on Israel? There could be something that goes really awry here that could pivot everything back towards Israel. And that's unfortunately our guest is not here. I wanted to have a biblical discussion if there was anything in the Bible, but unfortunately they didn't arrive. So yeah, but I'm just wondering. I'm wondering and waiting for that pivotal moment where it goes wrong, because if it's too good to be true, then it probably is not true. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I think they just got lucky, but I think one significant mess up could turn this whole thing around and backfire on I don't know who the West, we call them the West, I guess. Is Israel the West? I don't know. And finally, the Epstein files. The Epstein files. Is this all a distraction from the Epstein files? Well, for Trump, he's not even really in the Epstein files.
That's right. Yeah.
He's already been pointed out that he was the first one to call the FBI and thank them for investigating it because he's actually an informant. So it's not that. It's not that. But the reality of the Epstein files is that whatever information was going to be in there has already been redacted and will never even be put out.
Mm-hmm.
The truly incriminating stuff of the higher ups will never see the light of day and have probably already been destroyed. And whoever they're taking out now, I mean, before you know it, the fall of Rome was because of Epstein. The fall of Athens was because of Epstein. He's like the number one knee-jerk reaction. It was Epstein. It has made him the all-in-one fall guy. That's my opinion on it. Anyway, that's it, everybody. We've run out of time because it is the turn of the hour. We're gonna fire away. I am Jason Bainbridge, and you're here with us. Let's put us on the screen. Oh, what the heck has happened here? Okay, we're just gonna leave it like that. I'm not quite sure what's happened. This is weird. My computer's going really weird, a bit freaky. Okay, we're just gonna leave it like that. Okay. I'm Jason Bainbridge from Stays of the Nation, and this is Rosie Convoy. We're going to be back anyway. I'm actually going to try and podcast quite often. I'm even going to try to do once a day just by myself. Even if it's by myself, I don't care. I'm going to try and do at least a 20-30 minute podcast every day because I need to train myself into being more busy.
Sounds great, Jason. Yeah, no, you just invite me back anytime. My schedule is pretty open, and it's just a matter of finding a nice time where it works for both of us. But honestly, I like chatting with you. It's been over a year, like we said, and I've missed it. I've missed your face. I've missed having these chats, and it's great. You always give like a new perspective of ways of looking at things that I hadn't thought of before. So anytime you want me on, Rosie Convoy, I'm your girl.
That's the one. You're our girl. And we did get one comment. Wow. Communism is the new normal. Hi, Judy. And it's from LAXJW. Thank you, LXJW. I don't know if you can hear this, but that's the cue for us to call it quits and say sayonara and good night. See you on the flip side, Judy. Bye.